Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always. Today, we have a special guest, Rob Kaczmark, CEO of Spirit Juice Studios. Rob is a self-taught filmmaker and a passionate Catholic who found his calling in 2004. He realized film was a powerful medium for spreading the gospel. Under his leadership, Spirit Juice has become an Emmy Award-winning international sensation. Based in Chicago and a father of two, Rob still actively engages in cinematography and directing. And I've asked him to join us here today to share his story and help us all tell better stories. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How are you doing?
Good, Daryl. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, we've had some good laughs. I admire his beard. If you can see it, it's a lovely beard. So, how making me feel like good thing I didn't shave last night. At least I got a little something. Otherwise,
You
I'd
got a little scruff,
feel
yeah.
emasculated here right now. No. So before we hop into storytelling and some of your accomplishments, can we go back to even the beginning? Because it's not easy to forge a path as a filmmaker to profit from your art. How did you even get into this avenue? Do you have a background in marketing and sales? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Is this somehow, was there a family business that helped you develop some of these skills?
Yeah, short answer is yes and no. So my dad is a blue collar. He was worked for Commonwealth Edison, which was like they provide electricity in the States, and then became a police officer. So very blue collar. But on the side, he would always kind of just do little small side businesses, buy and resell cars, or just had a little popcorn thing. And so he always had something going. He had a little entrepreneurial spirit, but with the normal sort of like stability of blue collar. On my mom's side, all of her brothers and sisters own businesses. So I think there's something in the blood. I don't know if it's the Italian
Right.
blood or what. And so at an early age, my first job was, if you want to consider it my own business, but it was me walking around the neighborhood and knocking on neighbors to either cut their lawn every week, or to, when it snowed, I always got so excited as a kid, because when it snowed, that means I could make money. And so to shovel their driveway, because my parents were, what I really appreciated, although when I was little, not so much, is if they said, if you want something, you got to work for it. So the answer was never like, okay, I get this. It was never no. It was like, sure, if you pay for it. And I just thought of
Love it.
ways to make money. And so that's kept going as I got older. I had actually a DJ business for a number of years, or from when I was about like 15, 16, it started till early 20s. And any way I could, that if I can incorporate some creativity in, that was cool. But otherwise, if it was something that I could just do a service for, I always get involved in that. And there's a couple of steps from there to where I am now. But I feel like it was engraved in me, ingrained in me, sorry, at a young age.
All right, shoveling driveways. I've been there, done that. I know how that is. Wet snow is the bane of my existence, but anything else is good, right? Damn slush. This isn't snow. Shoveling water. DJ studio. What else? What were some of your other early projects that you cut your teeth on?
I worked for, so I after I cut that, I thought I was cutting enough lawns on my own. Then I worked for a landscaper for a while. We would tunnel lawns. So I did landscaping for a couple of years. I worked in an automotive shop, just like cleaning up stuff. And then I worked at a car wash for probably the most amount of time before I got like a full-time job. I did that during high school and during college. So drying off cars. I remember one of these sticks out particularly because I was also doing the DJ at that time too. I DJ'd a father-daughter dance the night before. It was a Friday, and then I had to open at the car wash. And the first person in, I opened at like 8 or whatever. So I was out. It was similar to your story where you burn the midnight oil. So I didn't get home till probably 1. After you're done DJing, you got to clean everything up and unload and all that stuff. And the dad, I was like, oh, I was DJing your father-daughter last night. And now I'm drying off your car. It's just that I appreciate anyone that has the hustle. And when I say that, you're just willing to do whatever you can to get by and stuff. And it was a lot of that. It was a lot of working and doing something as a 20-hour day is a norm. But it just, you fill up that time. Early on, actually, I heard it was a show called The Apprentice. I think it was The Apprentice. I don't know. It was some show where it was like business owners, Anyways, the point is, I saw the person that won that speak, and the only thing I really remember from the talk is he goes, your day, if someone were to give you $24,000 every day, would you spend it, or would you just let it just go to waste? He goes, you'd probably spend every single dollar. He goes, that's what your time is every day. You have 24 hours, so make the most of that. Don't let it go to waste, because you're not going to get that day back. And so I took that to heart, and I just feel like I try to as much as I can, maximize each hour of every day.
Yeah, I love that. I have a doc that I track, I plan my day in and that. If you don't mind, I want to read this poem. It's one of my favorites on my daily reads. I've got a tab in this doc of things that I have to read every day just to help prime my mind. And one of them is about time. It's like 20, 30 seconds. Time is the inexplicable raw material of everything. With it, all is possible. Without it, nothing. The supply of time is truly a daily miracle, an affair genuinely astonishing when one examines it. You wake up in the morning and lo, your purse is magically filled with 24 hours of the unmanufactured tissue of the universe of your life. It is yours. It is the most precious of possessions. No one can take it from you. It is unstealable. And no one receives either more or less than you receive. In the realm of time, there is no aristocracy of wealth and no aristocracy of intellect. Genius is never rewarded by even an extra hour a day. And there is no punishment. Waste your infinitely precious commodity as much as you will, and the supply will never be withheld from you. Moreover, you cannot draw on the future. It's impossible to get into debt. You can only waste the passing moment. You cannot waste tomorrow. It is kept for you. You cannot waste the next hour. It is kept for you. I have said the affair was a miracle, is it not? You have to live on this 24 hours of daily time. Out of it, you have to spend health, pleasure, money, content, respect, and the evolution of your immortal soul. Its right use, its most effective use, is the matter of the highest urgency and of the most thrilling actuality. All depends on that. Your happiness, the elusive prize you are all clutching for, my friends, depends on that. If one cannot arrange that an income of 24 hours a day shall exactly cover all proper items of expenditure, one does muddle one's whole life indefinitely. We shall never have any more time. We have, and we have always had, all the time there is. And that's by Arnold Bennett, How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. I just love it. I think that's exactly what you said. Yeah, if you had $24 every day and how you spent them, and some would have to be in rest, right? Rest, recovery. But that's it. That's it. I don't understand how people are bored. And people that when they don't have, I just don't. If we need all shapes and sizes and diversity, but maybe it's something you unlearn as you get older, right? You realize we don't have that much time left. Nobody knows when we're going to go. And especially now that I have kids, now it's like a race. Like I need to make sure things are good if I go. So I love that. So, all right. So what were some of your biggest challenges and struggles? Yeah.
I would say related to the business, the first 5 years were really challenging. The first five, so right now we have around a little over 30 employees. First 5 years, we had no employees. I had one or two guys that I would hire, on a contract, as a freelancer on a somewhat regular basis, but it was just me. And I look at other businesses that have in 5 years, they have 10 employees or 15 employees, but it was just me. And so there was a lot. The nature of the work I was doing was challenging because the market, which is primarily Catholic organizations, often aren't spending money in video. It just wasn't. And so it was a bit of an uphill battle for that. I also didn't know. I went to school for business, which was I did that because it's a safe degree at the time. Right. It wasn't necessarily I was passionate about business. So I didn't know filmmaking. So it was learning. It was also trying to cultivate relationships, convince people to hire us. The first 5 years was really challenging in that way. After that, we got a little bit of, steam going. We had a momentum. People then know who we were. So it wasn't as much of that. But so the middle 5 years were not saying not without their challenges, but I would say the past 5 years, part of that was COVID. Part of it was just growing too. I'm doing everything. Now I have people that report to me, that report to the other person, that are doing different things, and just different layers. And transitioning from a one-stop shop in the business, they call them predators, producer, shooter, editor. So doing everything to now being, I'm managing people. And so knowing how to communicate. And even though I could go in and just change something, I don't want to do that because I gotta keep the structure that's there. So just understanding what it's like to be a CEO has been a challenge. It's been a real big challenge. And I can go on a lot of different stories in different areas, but that growth, the thing that I've learned is if you want to grow, you got to let go. And so you got to let go to things you've done before. You got to let go to your mindset on things. You got to let go of a lot if you want to grow.
I love that. I love that. Can we talk about this? So to grow, you got to let go. It sounds counterintuitive. Why? How does that work?
You want to hang on. If you could, the counter side of that is, you want to grow something. You want to hang on to all the stuff you have. Like, just say it's like a collection, not business, that you want to grow your collection of Lego. And so you want to hold on to all the Legos and stuff. So it makes sense if you have something tangible. When it comes to yourself as a person or as a business, you got to let go. You can't do everything. To going back to the previous point of how many hours we have in the day, you only have so many hours. So you got to let go of control. And I think it's especially hard for business owners because their name's in the door, whether the business is actually in their name or not, but it's them. The buck stops there. And so what's been really challenging is I've had to, more times than I can remember, I have to email or call a client and apologize for something I didn't even do, but I act like I did. So we do something as we should have. And so I'm calling, we missed a deadline, whatever the thing is. And I'm calling and I'm saying, I'm really sorry we didn't do this. We should have been better. I should have been better. And the reality is I wasn't even involved in that project. It was other people. And so you got to let go of, that's okay. That's SOP when it comes to running a business. Other people are going to mess things up and you have to be responsible for that. And that comes down to then maybe the ownership I have is maybe I need to either hire better or have a better procedure or have other, things. So letting go, there's so many areas you need to let go if you want to grow. A quote that I don't know where that came from. I don't know if I made that up or not, but a quote that I didn't make up and I say quite often here, it's an old African proverb, is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah. I know that. I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like those are connected, that letting go and going together, because there's just a lot of similarities.
I think, like you say, there's a lot of tasks that have to get done. Something that I do with clients sometimes is we'll create an accountability chart of their business, of their customer journey. So we map out the customer journey from in entirety, from first hearing about them to having been delivered whatever they bought 1, 2, 3, 4 times, depending how that is, and asking for referrals type thing. And then under all that journey, we map out and itemize all the to-do items. Like, for example, if part of my business requires me to post in Facebook groups, just make some up, someone has to write the post. Someone has to log into Facebook. Someone has to go to the group and post a group and respond to comments and chat with people. And so that we would try in as much like banal, brain injuring detail as we can, try to detail all the things that we can think of under each kind of phase of the customer journey that have to get done in order for this machine to run. And then we try to group them into like categories. And then you create an accountability chart. You create your org chart out of that. So instead of just dreaming up an org chart, like there's me and my secretary, it's based on the tasks that people have to do. And then it's like you say, you have to let go. If you want to be making $100 an hour, don't do $10 an hour work. That's the stuff you have to hire out. So as a business owner, you can focus on growing, creating a machine that runs without you. I think that I have a friend, he sold his business for 7 figures, and he said he would never have done it if he hadn't had this conversation with an older gentleman who told him that every morning you wake up, all those things on your to-do list, you'll never sell your business as long as they're on your to-do list, not someone else's, because you'll be attached to the business. And that's a really powerful thing. What would you recommend to anyone who's starting and struggling out, or starting out and
struggling with letting go?
Just to grow both. Yeah.
I would say first, the struggle is normal. Because I think I know early on, maybe it was just being young. Because I'm 40 years old now. When I started, I was early 20s, not 22, 3, something like that.
4 years old now?
I'm 40 years old now.
Oh, there we go. Okay. It's quite the beard.
Yeah, I guess so. So maybe it was like early 20s. I feel like early 20s, a lot of people feel just entitled. So I know I'm probably offending people that are in their 20s, but that's just normal. I felt entitled, and I feel like that's part of being in your early 20s. And so if you're struggling, that's normal. That's okay. That's part of the process. So first getting there and not fighting against that, because then if you do, you're so, why me? Why I sacrifice all this? I'm not going out, like my friends are going out on Saturday nights and I'm here stuck at work and we're not growing. No, that's normal. That's welcome to owning a business. I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, so I started my own business. Now I get to work all the hours. And so if you don't get that, then go back to your 9 to 5. Okay, so we've established owning a business is hard and you're struggling, but you still want to grow. What's the thing? obviously we're not going to get into tactically because it's different for every business.
Of course.
But talking to as many people as you can within reason is going to be, what do they say? Luck is when opportunity meets hard work. And so and I would consider most businesses, the more people, the more business opportunities you're going to have. And so putting yourself in front of different people as much as you can, that makes sense, that are obviously in line with potential people. And really, I think the part of it is, it's don't approach, there's been so many like events that I've go to, and you'll see people and they have their networking. Just make friends with people, and without having any literally no agenda. You're just there, you want to become friends because you think they're cool, and they are cool. And you'll be surprised what sort of relationships come out of that. And knowing that a lot of times it's a longer game too. So you meet someone, I've been to events too, where it's like people are always trying to talk to the top people there, and they never can, or they maybe talk to them for a minute and they think it's going to be their opportunity to get a lot of business, and it's not. Yet the person that's 2 or 3 rows is easy to talk to. No one's talking to them. And then you cultivate that relationship, and then fast forward 2 years, that person is at this position that you wanted to talk to the other some. But it's a long game. It's not the short game. You're not going to be, I'm not saying there's not exceptions to this, but you're not going to get successful overnight. You're not going to just meet the right person and then it's just going to skyrocket. That just doesn't happen. It takes a long time. It's going to take a while to get there. And if you don't have the patience, then you're not going to get there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Actually, I was talking to the team that I was helping last night, that if you only talk to 10 people, we said that contacts can become contracts. And so depending on your business, if maybe you sell ice cream and so you're not getting contracts, but depending on your business, the principle still is the same, where if you only talk to 10 people, then that's the maximum number of clients you could have. If you talk to 100 people, then that's the maximum number of clients you can have. Talk to 1,000. I talked to an old coaching client of mine. Short story here, he had a successful online business. He had a coaching group. He was a dating advice guru, not in English, different language. And he had a coaching group. I think he had something like 350, 400 people paying monthly for high ticket coaching. And he had coaches that were helping him and stuff. Yeah, it was a good thing. But he had been investing in crypto, and crypto was starting to really take off. And it was more his passion. And he managed to put a fund together with $1 million. People had invested $1 million in this fund. And it was the first legally registered crypto hedge fund in his country. And he basically shut down his business. And I had said to him, Louis, don't keep them both going. But he was making so much money hand over fist. He thought, no, I'm good. And he told all of his customers and let them all go and let his team go and his staff go. And fast forward 12 months, crypto's not doing so well anymore. And now he's looking at that business like, I should really start things up again. So when we talked a couple of months ago, he was frustrated because he felt like all his team was gone. It was just him, and there's just so much to get done. I just can't get it all done. And I got bills to pay. He's got 3 kids. He's got a 4th on the way now. And he's like, what am I going to do? And I went, Louis, why don't you call back all your old customers, apologize, and invite them back? Yeah, that's a good idea. So I talked to him just a couple of days ago, and I went, how'd it go? And he's, oh, it was great. I had 600 past customers to call. I contacted about 60, maybe 70 of them I got to talk to. And of those, 50 of them are back with us. I was like, oh, that's great. He's not quite. I'm barely break even right now. I need more because I'm hiring coaches and stuff. And I went, okay. So you talked to 60, 70 out of 600. What's happening with the other 530 people? And he went, I called them. Yeah, but did you reach them? No. And so I was like, Louis, you closed, I don't even know what percentage that is, 80, 90 something percent of the people you talk to. And you have a list of 530 more. And you're on TikTok? What are you doing? Pick up the phone. So like you said, those relationships, connecting with people. That's the story, that he only connected with whatever, 60, 70. And that turned into 50 subscribers at a monthly high ticket package price. And he just said, so I told him to call those other people to either you get a definitive no, or you get in touch with them and see what happens. So I really like that emphasis. So now, what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that you see other entrepreneurs making, or even especially people trying to make money with their art?
Yeah, making money, I guess we want to classify it. So there's making money with your art, meaning you create something and then you hope people buy it, whether it's a one-time thing, like you create this painting and you want people to buy that specific painting, or you're creating t-shirts or whatever it is, art that goes on something that people can buy. And so that, to be honest, I'm not that familiar with how to make money in that way. There's the other artists that make money or that are create as a service. And so that's what I could speak a little bit and maybe give some advice to anyone out there that, let's say they're a graphic designer, they're a videographer, they're a filmmaker, they're a musician, where it's, hey, they're talented at creating art and they want to create it for people to get paid and such. My opinion might not be the most popular with everyone, but it's my opinion. I think it rings true in the sense that if you're gonna be in the service industry, if you're gonna sell it, if you're creating a painting and you're selling that painting, yes, you're an artist and that's fine. But if you're gonna say, hey, I'm available and I'll paint you something, yeah, you're still an artist, but first you're in the service business. So think of it the same way as if you're going to a restaurant and you're ordering a hamburger. If someone comes in and say, I want a hamburger, and you bring them a plate of pasta, and you're like, I know you ordered the hamburger, but this pasta is way better than a hamburger. And the person's like, it might be, but I have a taste for a hamburger and I ordered a hamburger. In the service industry as an artist, you have to respect that pecking order. And so I've just seen a lot of people that think how great the art is written for them. And they just, yeah, I know the client wants this, but this is, I think this is better for them. And you can certainly share your opinion. And we do this all the time. Hey, my professional opinion is I think you should go this way. However, if you still want this other thing, more than happy to do that for you. And that's I've seen the biggest disconnect in artists that are trying to sell their services for a business. Because at the end of the day, they're paying, whoever pays is in charge. And if the client is paying you if they want purple pajamas and you're giving them blue pajamas, you're doing a disservice to them. And yeah, I say it's a slightly unpopular because I think a lot of artists feel that they're still right, but that's just not how the world works. And you're not going to get the client to come back. Let's say finally they want purple pajamas, you give them blue pajamas, you feel good, you think you convinced them. They're not coming back. People come back to someone that listens to them, they get what they want. And at the end of the day, if you're working for an organization or a company, they know their audience better than you do. We as artists, we think we know everything, but we don't. And so trusting, being obedient to the client, being obedient to the project can be a really challenging thing I've seen. And so it's a lesson I've had to learn many times, but I've also seen other people, I guess, not learn that lesson and then aren't able to continue on in their work. And then they feel that, I'm just a starving artist, I can't survive. It's maybe you just don't know how to listen to people.
Right.
So
that makes sense. We like to say on the show that problems are markets, not demographics. And what that means is that if there's a problem, we'll just make a simple example. I need a job. Okay, that's the problem. And around that problem exists like different stereotypes. So just like you would have a lake and a lot of different kinds of birds, and some birds eat fruits and berries, some birds eat nuts and insects, some birds eat fish, some birds eat other birds. And so here you've got your problem, and around it, you've got homeless people that need jobs, and you have high-powered CEOs that are looking for jobs. And it's the same problem, but two different desired experiences and two different capacities to pay for it. And so what you really have to do is you have to make sure you're delivering to solve that problem. And so that, yeah, what you're describing almost sounds like ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese term. It's the intersection of, there's 4, but I only ever remember 3. It's like your passion, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and what people will pay you for. Where those things intersect, that's your ikigai. That's what you can dedicate your life to, and as a career and a profession. And I think that's like we're saying, if you can find a way to serve and create that art. Now, what are some of the skills and behaviors that you think are most important? You already talked about one, listening and understanding that you're there to deliver for the client and they're giving you money. What are some other mission critical skills and behaviors?
I would say soft skills, emotional intelligence, it can't be overstated. And just, it does tie into listening a little bit, but being able to, you'd be surprised how many people don't know how to read the room. Where something's happening and they're just not reading the room. And so you got to be able to read the room at all times. And whether that's you're onboarding a client or whether you're working with them and knowing when the right time to give feedback or not give feedback, or just understanding stuff. Yeah, that's important. I think timeliness is good. I think probably something that plagues most artists. If I can stereotype most artists, we're always late. And I'm guilty of that. So I raise my hand first. Artists are generally late. And so if you can, and if you're generally, if someone's hiring you, an artist, to do something, they're probably more business minded, which means that they're not late. And so being on time is very important. And so that can be a point of contention. Being on time is really, it's critical to keep a relationship going, because the best part, or not the best part, which I think it's you want to get to when you're running a business, is having reoccurring clients. It's hard. I don't know what the number is, but getting a new client versus a returning client, it's way easier with the returning clients. And so for a long time with our business, like most of, and still to this day, most of our work is with reoccurring clients. We certainly get new clients from time to time, and I guess somewhat regularly, but most of our work is with reoccurring, and it makes the process a lot easier. But the only way you get reoccurring clients is you keep them happy. And ways to keep them happy is you deliver things on time, you're good to work with, and you're fair with your pricing. Because if you're not fair with your pricing, whatever fair looks like, they're certainly not going to come back. And I guess the last trait would just be honesty, which I feel like is like everyone would agree. Yeah, good to be honest. But being honest, I'll give you an example. So I work with this one contractor. I've been working with them exclusively for a number of years now. And I've worked with other contractors before that. And I continue to go back to him because he is an honest man. And honest in the sense of he did some work for me where he had to remove a wall, put a floor in. About a year later, the floor was a little uneven. And I don't know if that was because the job wasn't properly done, or because something happened, the floor moves, or I don't know. I told him about the problem. He came back, he fixed it without charging me anything. That's an honest person. And knowing whether, if you mess up, let's say there's an issue that comes up, a common thing in filmmaking is a camera operator could forget to hit record, and then they'll blame it on something else. Oh, let's do another take. I don't think the talent got it just right. Or I don't know, I think there was an issue with the memory card. Really, they didn't hit record on the camera. And so owning mistakes and being honest in that goes a long way. When you run a business, you see a lot of mistakes. Some you make yourself, and some other people make. And what I always appreciate, what I tell anyone, is own your mistakes. So if you mess something up, I'll be way less upset if you just you come, hey, yep, I did this and I'm sorry. That goes way longer. I think how you handle a mistake is more important than making, or if you made a mistake or not.
Yeah, I think that's really valid, because people want to know what the real situation is. How many times have we watched a movie where the main character doesn't spill the beans on everything, and that's why there's a 2-hour movie? If they had just told them it was the colonel in the kitchen with the candlestick, the movie would have been over in the first 10 minutes. But they lied. They didn't share that. And that might make good film and stories to watch, but we hate it in real life. We want to know all the details, right? Yes. And to speak to what you talked about, I love that you said emotional intelligence. So I think I maybe already told you, we spent a considerable amount of money to hire research assistants and go through all the academic literature on business success. And we uncovered 8 critical success factors. And they are self-efficacy, market intelligence, marketing strategic planning, marketing strategy, sales strategy and skill, money management, business operations, and business intelligence. These are the umbrella categories. And everything goes into this: your cybersecurity, your meeting rhythms, your HR and legal compliance. They all have their spot. But self-efficacy, because we looked at all the pieces, self-efficacy is personality traits, leadership skills, and personal disciplines. And you hear a lot of people talk about leadership training, and it always bugged me because I felt like it was like the word branding. Like, I'm a brand marketer. So I'm a results-based, nothing in my life has ever been participation award. Like, I was adopted as a kid. My whole life has been like sink or swim. And leadership, people like, oh, leadership, it's like branding. Like, you go, oh, the brand's just got to get out there more. Like, did you close the deal or not? Did you get the leads or no, right? And leadership, according to our research, it is self-awareness, communication, cooperation skills, emotional intelligence skills, and adaptability, right? That's what really makes the leadership. And so that emotional intelligence, I think, is important, because self-efficacy is your ability to accomplish things with yourself, but it also means with other people, through other people, by being able to communicate and cooperate and collaborate, right? So I think that you just really hit the nail on the head. Now, where do you think things are going? Because there's been a lot of new technology. There's AI's on the horizon. Geopolitically, the world up and down. There's a lot of cultural, like around the world, there's pushing and pulling between moral values and religious values and cultural values. Where do you see things going in 5, 10, 15 years, as far as like what you're thinking for yourself and your business and your staff and your clients?
You can look at the world and it could look like it's falling apart, which there's good reason why people could see that in the sense of, oh my gosh, there's so many things changing, whether it's technology and politically and morally, all that stuff. And I think it's important to look at all the things going on and what are the positives, because the world's always, I'm Catholic and my view of the world is, yes, we're in a fallen world. Things aren't going to be perfect. They never were perfect. They're not going to be perfect. Not in this life. That's what we hope for the next. So I try to not focus so much on where things could go wrong. Terminator is probably my favorite movie. Terminator 2 is probably, and so you look at what AI is doing and Skynet, you're like, this could, or the Matrix is high up there too, not quite as Terminator.
Yeah.
You're like, this looks like we're heading right for Terminator or the Matrix. I don't know which one, maybe, or we're heading for more like the Jetsons, where or Star Wars rather, probably, where it's not Star Wars. Obviously, this is all fictitious stuff, but technology is very advanced in that, and it's not the enemy. There's people are still the enemy.
No, it's not the people. In Star Wars, even in I saw a meme about this. Even in a galaxy far away, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, the most evil thing in the galaxy was still a politician.
Right. Right.
Sorry, I like that. I digress. I digress.
Yeah.
It's not the technology, it's the politician.
People, no matter where you are, there's good people and there's bad people, and it's just the nature of it. And so where I look at things are going, specifically in my line of field, which is the filmmaking, content creation world, there's certainly some jobs that are going to be AI will take over, and some of that stuff, whether it's in the creation of stuff or the editing portion. The one thing that I think is going to be really hard for it to go to the wayside is the documentation. Yes, you could type in anything you want in Midjourney and it'll create whatever that is. But if there's an event and you want that event captured, that needs to be done by a body. In theory, a robot can do that and stuff, but the capture of that and the creation in that way, I think that's going to take a long time for that to go to the wayside. Ideas, storytelling, I think has a good spot. And I think it's also I'm curious where the sort of Apple Vision is going to land, because Oculus or Meta Quest has been out for a little bit, which is very interesting and very fun to be in that space. And so creating content in that space is cool. And I think if the Apple Vision takes off, you'll see a lot more. That's essentially 3D VR, or so stereoscopic VR stuff, which we've dabbled in a little bit, but it's a lot to take in. So I think you'll see more immersive content. And then outside of that, when you look at the political or the moral stuff, I don't know. I have different thoughts, and sometimes I think they're more negative, and sometimes I'm more optimistic. But I think there's what's the quote? It's something about, if you want to change the world, start at home or something.
Take care of yourself so you can be sure there's at least one less scoundrel in the world. Something like that. Yeah.
I never heard that one. That's good. So I don't know. I have very little control in how the world will change in different ways, but I know I could affect myself, my wife, and my kids, and my extended family. And so I just try to keep my focus on that rather than worrying about all the other things going on in how much or how little it's going to impact me, because I think a lot of time can get lost, precious time, as we talked about at the beginning, that you don't get back just by worrying about the potential of certain things. So I got enough work in front of me to focus on what I can do. And I think some of the technologies are pretty interesting. I'm excited about what potentials that can do and to streamline. I think if you want to look at that stuff on a positive, it's making some things easier and giving new opportunities to things that don't exist anymore. Yeah, I'm excited to see where things land.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I like to use the analogy of accountants and a calculator. Before, accountants and bookkeepers used to have to do the math themselves, and then calculators came out, and the productive ones became more productive, and the non-productive ones lost their excuse for why it took them 2 days to do 2 + 2 = 4. And we're seeing that again, which almost brings it back to ikigai. Like, you really got to know and love what you're doing so you can be good at it, because markets are, I like this a lot. It comes from Greg Glassman. Markets are unknown and unknowable. Meaning, if I asked you today how many people were in market for a car, you could look at indicators, search traffic stuff, but ultimately it's unknown and unknowable because it fluctuates and changes all the time. But everybody can acknowledge excellence. Everybody can acknowledge and recognize excellence. So if you just instead focus on solving a problem and being the most excellent at solving that problem, that can see you through good times and bad, right? And that's a really good guiding light. And so again, as these technologies come out, as long as we focus on just being excellent at solving whatever the problem we're solving is, changes will happen, sure, but that's like the best North Star I think you can have.
Yeah.
Can we talk about content creation? I probably should have asked you a lot more about this, but
Sure.
you talk about content creation, creating content that engages people. Are there any tips? What do you not do? That might be a good place to start.
Sure. Creating content, you want to talk mostly on like video or motion as opposed to like still content, or yeah, what give me a little shape and then I'll go right into that.
I think in today's day and age, with social media and the power, the leverage that we have with software code, and it's such a powerful platform. This interview, like I still get downloads from interviews I did in 2015. So this is an hour that we're spending together that's incredibly powerful because we're making a time capsule basically in time and talking about things that are timeless. So when you are trying to almost nurture and feed an audience, I guess, with some content, it almost would be, I think, static, because as you release stuff over time, you still maybe have a story arc to what you're saying. Are there any guiding principles that you believe in and that have to be followed? Is there, in video, is there a pacing? Should a video, like every so many frames, something needs to move or happen? Or are there certain key, obviously every story needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I'm just curious to know what comes off the top of your head in terms of the fundamentals of telling great stories in compelling and engaging ways.
Yeah. I would say a big rule, and it's not necessarily storytelling, but just creating videos, is you always want the viewer to, when the video is done, you want them to want more, not be wondering when it's going to be over. And sometimes when I'm watching a draft or something, and I'm like, if I'm looking at the time of either my watch or on the time code of the video, I'm like, yeah, that's not a good sign. And so there's a phrase in filmmaking called killing your darlings. And you gotta, that's actually, if you look at, well, DVDs aren't really that popular anymore, but if you buy like the digital download and there's extra features, deleted scenes is killing your darling. So at some point, like they didn't shoot that scene being like, we're gonna shoot behind, or we're gonna shoot extra scenes just for the extras. No,
right.
They wrote the story. Because in filmmaking, you say a film is made 3 times: in pre-production, so before you start rolling cameras; in production, so when you're filming; and then post-production during the edit. So in the first 3 times, or the first 2 times, in pre-production, in the writing, and then in production, they thought that scene was critical to have because every film has a strict budget and you want to maximize that. And so you get into the edit and you go, you know what? That just doesn't work. And it's easy to just, as a casual viewer, to watch bonus features and extra scenes and be like, oh yeah, okay, not think much of it. It's a different story when you're actually making something, because to make anything, you got to bleed. I don't mean physically, I just mean emotionally. You're putting so much
physically too.
Sometimes physically too. Yeah, that does occur. But you put so much into it. And so when you get to the edit and you be like, I worked so hard to, especially if you're a bigger crew and a bigger team, it's a little easier because you didn't bleed quite as much. It was a collective energy. But if you're a small creator and you worked really hard, let's just say it was just you, maybe one other person, and for 2 days you shot the scene and you constructed it, and then you get into the edit and you go, yeah, I don't think it works, but I really love it. I know, and we worked really hard for it. That's not an excuse. It has to add to the film. Everything is intentional. Actually, a big tip is the viewer's going to assume everything they're watching, you intended 100%. They're not going to think that if it's raining, that if you go to film something and it's raining that day, they're going to assume that's intentional. You wanted it to rain because you could have chosen to film a different day. Maybe you didn't have the option. That's all that was there, but that's what the viewer thinks.
Yeah.
There was a YouTube channel. I think it still exists. I don't think they still upload, but it's called Every Frame of Painting. And they do, every frame of painting is a saying from filmmaking as well, where every frame you have is in the video or in the film should be like a painting. It should be composed with the lighting and the composition and all that stuff as if it was a painting. So that's what the YouTube channel is called. But anyways, they did one on Jackie Chan, who I love. Jackie Chan just I think is a brilliant filmmaker and stunt person and just all that stuff. He does all his own stunts famously. Right. And in the interview in the YouTube series, he talked about how sometimes he'll spend days and weeks on the same scene to get it right. And he goes, because when the person's watching the movie, you're not going to go to every theater and explain, oh, this scene's not good because it was rainy that day, they were a little tired. And so get it right because it's going to live on forever. And that's just, they're going to assume what's there, it was how you wanted it, even if it's not. I don't know. I digress a little bit. I went in a bunch of different tangents.
I think that's a really important thing. It's nobody cares. Work harder. Nobody cares. Work harder. And for them, it's about the end result. They don't care. Work harder. It's the, what is it? A friend once said, when someone promises you the moon and then gives you a helicopter ride, it was great. I went up. I was high up. Whoa, but I didn't touch moon rock. I call it getting your hair, asking for a haircut, getting your shoes shine. Bro, that's great. You did such a good job on my shoes. My hair's still not cut. And that's, and then we live in a world of results. And so it's about the end result. And I love the talking about killing your darlings. I think that's even a creative process. Whenever someone's stuck, you remove your favorite pieces and begin again and see see what happens there. I think there's a lot of lessons in life to this, because it's not even just a film with a business. Somebody may have an ideal. I worked with a client. He was so committed to getting 10,000 people paying him $10 a month. And I just was like, do you know how many sales that's going to take? We're going to have to spend on advertising. You just don't have the following for that right now. And we went the opposite way, and we sold the most expensive stuff we could. And he made a bunch of money, and he thought it was brilliant. And then it somehow became his idea, which, Rob, you've been so forthcoming. I've got a couple pages of notes. This has been really useful, really powerful. Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
No, I mean, I thoroughly enjoy this. It's just fun. Just you yourself have so much experience and knowledge and wisdom, so it's really cool just sharing a little bit that I know, and then you had so much depth and wisdom to it. I'm just grateful, and I'm sure we could keep talking for days if we had the opportunity. But it's been a blast, and I appreciate all that you've shared with me.
Yeah, thanks, man. If people want to reach you and find out more, should they go to spiritjuicestudios.com? Should they look you up on LinkedIn? What are?
Yeah, the company website, spiritjuicestudios.com. I'm on Instagram. I try to post it pretty regularly. So I'm just at Rob Kaczmark, ROBKACZMARK. From there, but I'm on all Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff. So look me up on Instagram, and you can go from there.
Yeah, okay. So go check out spiritjuicestudios.com, SpiritJuicestudios, spiritjuicestudios.com, or go find them on social media, ROBKACZMARK, Kaczmark, with the C silent, not Jazzmark, but it does sound like. Thank you so much for coming. It's been an honor and a pleasure knowing you have your own family, your own staff, your own customers, your own following. Thank you for coming and sharing with me and mine.
Thank you. It's an honor, and I appreciate the opportunity.